What is up, my dudes? Alright, so today I want to talk about something a little bit more nuanced, but it's how do I die? How do I prevent dying from deaths that were unavoidable? Alright, so this is gonna get a little weird, right? So, how do I die? How do I prevent dying from unavoidable deaths, unavoidable mechanics, right? All right, so this is again, this is gonna be a little nuance, so bear with me here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to all wipes, and I'm gonna swing over to our desk tab, pop in before 5 players have died. All right, and I'm gonna look at someone that's usually not really hit by Buster Cannon a lot. And so I was kind of going through this earlier, and if you look at, we can actually look at who got hit by Buster Cannon the most, who took the most hits. So if I go to damage taken and I hit damage taken from ability, right, and I hit over to our boy Buster Cannon, we can see here who took the most damage from this avoidable mechanic, right? So Snow is actually a really good example. So Snow is like one of our best players. She takes the like almost the least amount of damage from avoidable mechanics. She's really excellent. However, so she can avoid all the avoidable mechanics, but if we look down at this chart, like how is Snow dying? You know, if she's avoiding the mechanics, she's not getting hit by Buster Cannon. What is happening here? So we're actually gonna let's take a look at Snow's death, right? So looks like she's got a couple deaths to Gigavolt Blast, a couple deaths to Spark Volley, Trampling Crashdown, right? So only one death to Buster Cannon. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at some of these deaths. So open up there, do. Let's see, that last one was 10, and 23. All right, cool. So let's see, that was damage taken by Buster Cannon. So here's the first death. So we have Spark Volley, Gigavolt Blast, and Crashdown. Alright. This one is Crashdown and Gigavolt Blast. Oh, we only care about deaths that involve Gigavolt Blast. So we got two here, Gigavolt Blast. This one, Gigavolt Radiation. We can just kind of ignore that one. This one, Buster Cannon. We're only caring about Gigavolt Blast. So this one's another Gigavolt Blast. And here is another Gigavolt Blast and Spark Volley. So, so like you said, we got a nice pattern here. These are situations that are occurring when these abilities are overlapping. You can kind of see that, like, getting hit by a Spark Volley, Gigavolt Blast, and Crashdown. This all happens in a really short period of time. We can even look at the damage taken for Snow for this encounter, and you can see she takes nothing, and then suddenly Gigavolt charge, and then boom, she's like this. There's a huge spike that's going on here, right? There's a huge spike that's going on here where suddenly she's taking 25,000 damage a second. It only takes a couple seconds for you to die. And we can go ahead and look at this one right here. See, it's huge spikes. These huge spikes are really dangerous. This is when people die. A lot of the mechanics in Battle of Zara lore are not one-shot mechanics. They're wither away mechanics where you get hit by one thing, then you get hit by another thing, then you get hit by another thing, and you're dead. But these aren't just like these are unavoidable. She got Gigavolt Blast. That's unavoidable. You're going to get it, and then a crash down happened. We can even look at this one. Boom. Here's a big spike that happens. Right. This one goes up to 40k, so you got to take that into account. So, with that piece of information, with this piece of information is, man, I suddenly I am taking like a lot of damage. Like my deaths are not from my fault. Not from my fault necessarily. I'm avoiding the mechanics. I'm doing the fight properly. I'm placing them out in Africa or whatever. I'm placing the bombs in Africa. How can I not die to this? What are things that I can do? So this is actually when personal cooldowns can be incredibly valuable. So just like people try to min-max their DPS cooldowns by having them line up with phases of the fight where there's not a lot of movement, or having them line up to get the most amount of DPS cooldowns over the course of a fight. Here, we can do the same thing, but in trying to mitigate damage. So, let me go ahead and I'm going to look up Icy Veins, Demon Hunter, defensive cooldowns. Actually, I think Wowhead has like a thing for this. So I'm actually going to go to Wowhead here. So Wowhead, Demon Hunter. Right. So Demon Hunter DPS guide, and then I know in the abilities, this is going to have defensive cooldowns. So defensives are Blur, 35% damage reduction, and Darkness. So Darkness, we usually, that's something that usually affects the raid in some fashion. But Blur is a nice little personal cooldown. Happens every minute. So if I'm Snow and I'm thinking, man, the problems are happening. I'm getting hit by Crashdown every single fight, but I'm only dying on the times that I get hit by Gigavolt Blast. What I should do is when is the Gigavolt Blast dealing the most amount of damage? This is very predictable. This is predictable damage here. Not when you get the debuff, but once you've got the debuff, you know you're going to be taking damage. So there are two parts of the Gigavolt Blast. There is the dot afterwards, and the dot before it's going off. So the dot afterwards is actually the thing that hits the most. There's going to be listed as two things. There's the smaller one is always going to be there's this Gigavolt charge which hits you, and then the Gigavolt Blast is the thing that slowly withers away your health. Yeah, see, Gigavolt Blast will just heal, like, this, the first one is always going to absorb your, like, resounding protection or something like that. But what ends up killing you is the actual blast itself. So, if I'm Snow, I'm thinking, alright, I'm going back for Gigavolt Blast. I know I'm about to take a lot of damage. This thing will kill you. This thing is going to kill you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my personal at the highest point of damage. Now this is going to be roughly around the time that the Gigavolt Blast goes off. There's like a timer that ticks down. You take a little bit of dot damage. When it goes off, you take a lot of damage, and then you take a dot that's also a lot of damage. You can actually see kind of that damage breakdown here, is that it slowly builds up. This disappears, but this stays pretty significant. So next time that I'm in this encounter and I get Gigavolt Blast or Gigavolt Charge, I'm thinking to myself, okay, not only am I going to run to my pillar and do my job correctly, but I'm also going to pop my Blur or some sort of personal mitigation cooldown and use that as a way of preventing me from possibly dying, and even more importantly, helping out your healers from having to go crazy because they think, oh, this is happening with a crash down. Suddenly everyone's taking a lot of damage. Like, Snow's also taking a dot. Oh, snap, we need to heal Snow. And then someone else ends up dying from a crash down. So not only is this going to help this is not going to only help your own chances of survival, it's going to help the chance of survival of every single raider around you. So this is a pretty big skill to learn, is when to actually time your personal cooldowns on a fight. I know some fights it kind of doesn't work out because we use them as a part of their timed raid cooldowns, but there's a reason why they're timed raid cooldowns, because they're so incredibly powerful that if you use them at the right time, you're going to be able to not only save yourself, but you're going to save other people, and you're not even going to know you're saving other people.